Fresh meat.
That's my don't sleep in.
Well, I'm going to say this. As a Bob Seger fan, I'm all about night moves. So if that's your alarm, then you're doing better than most.
You got a bit of that, did you?
Absolutely love the movie. Probably one of the best surprises I've seen all year. So as your first feature film, I feel like you kind of went all in. This is a very extravagant action film. What made you kind of jump in the deep end for your first feature?
Well, for me, it wasn't the deep end. We had a far bigger film that we were going to do, and I thought this would be an easy one to have a crack at. But I'm being serious because I've been making like high level TV commercials for 25 years. So the movie felt it was quite boring to make. But the hard part is the selling it, right? So this bit that we're going through now is the real challenge. That's what I'm really enjoying right now. But making the movie, I've been literally wall to wall shooting big productions for so many years now. The movie was quite easy. It's only because I've had a lot of that experience over all those years. But the selling the film, I always say to every filmmaker, it's so easy to make it. Anyone can bring in a container full of rubber dog shit in from Hong Kong, but you still got to sell it, right? So I was just fortunate that I had all that experience of knowing how to make good content.
I was going to say, because I know you've been a professional advertising director for years. I was watching some of your stuff. I know you have this whole thing about the red camera that you're talking about, which I think is probably the most cinematic looking camera. Trust me, if I could have one, I would. But clearly you're passionate about action, because this seemed like a far bigger budget. I mean, I know that I looked up how much, and I would have guessed totally wrong, which I think is impressive because you did quite a bit with very little. But as somebody that seems to obviously respect action and be able to shoot it very well, what movies influence your story and look here?
I didn't. Well, story-wise, my son reckons I ripped off, Rambo, Predator, and Terminator. I go, good one, mate. He goes, you've like stolen all the cool movies, and I go, well, I didn't mean to. I tried to be original with the story. Anyone that's got a robot in their movie, they're all going to say it's Terminator, I don't know, or Chappie or some bloody thing. But I wasn't influenced off those particular movies from a robot point of view. But when you watch the movie, you go, oh yeah, there's a bad Chappie. Okay, fine. It's got 2 arms and 2 legs, but that's the only similarities. But influenced, the look of the film, that's just me all up. I just wanted to do that type of look, like a more of a raw, real look, but still look like a good quality film. I didn't want to go too doco with it, because we're working with a relatively small budget, considering it looks probably bigger than what it is. We still made sure we shot with like 4 cameras, and we still did it the quality way. So instead of us having those 200 people behind the camera, sitting around watching me shoot, it's the other way around. Now we try to put as much of that money in front of us, and we only had a very small crew.
I really dig that you didn't hold back. So it seems like, nobody was safe, and I'm not going to ruin anything for the people who want to see this, because everybody should, but women, children, I mean, I couldn't predict who would live and who wouldn't. So was there anything you needed to compromise while kind of writing this story? Or do you think you would have had a tougher time pitching this exact same thing if you went through the normal studio route?
Yeah, well, I did pitch it through that route. And there was a lot of people rewriting my script and, wanting to. And there was a lot of, people saying that it's not right. You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do that. There's a lot of no's, can'ts. And that's another reason why we did it. Actually, I thought, you know what, screw the rule book. I'm in a position in my life where I can have a bit of fun, and that's why we end up paying for it ourselves. But you know, was there compromise in the story? No, I just let it be. You know what I mean? Like, you know, there was children being killed in war, right? And that's what happens in real war. I knew I didn't want the movie to be sort of softened or you know, molded into a PG-14 or 13 or a family movie. You know what I mean? And it might have made more money, maybe, if it was. But I've just go, well, this is all about story, expression, everything. This is my first film, and I thought I might as well just do the best I can with what I had, you know. And I think we did. There's, you know, we're doing well. The comments we've been getting are off the charts. We're like pinging on the top. We're right next to Tenet and all these platforms. The thing's gone nuts, you know.
And I think I saw something where you said you considered an experiment. So I guess the question I'm asking is, what have you learned about the market and kind of pushing through this way, and what would you do different next time?
Well, I think with the way we've done it, self-funding it, self-producing it, self-distributing it, and you know, you can't 100% self-distribute. There's always going to be someone in your way, right? Like Apple, for instance, Amazon, all those guys, you know, they're not really transparent. You know, you still got to put it on their shelf, and they will give you the money. You know, you don't know if they're going to be honest with you. You don't know who's going to be honest. You know, the only one that's really transparent is Vimeo on Demand, for crying out loud. But no one uses Vimeo on Demand. No one wants to use it. But that's actually the best platform for indie filmmakers in the world. Every time someone buys a movie, you get a ping in your laptop, and there it is. But you know, I wish everyone else had that amazing platform, but they had the notoriety of Netflix or Apple TV or Amazon. You know, but that's the transparency side that needs to come through, I think, future forward. But that's going to evolve over in time. I think someone needs to just create the ultimate platform that is very loud, very out there, and it has a TVOD and an SVOD selling machine behind it. But it's very transparent for the filmmaker. That'd be lovely. Anyway, but sorry, I forgot the other part of you. Oh, what would I do differently? If I still only had the money that we had, I would do it exactly the same. I wouldn't do anything different. The movie, creating the movie was so smoothly put together. Again, because of our experience of doing the ads, it was so simple, so easy. It was so fluid, very affordable. As you can see, we made a big looking movie for not a big amount of money. We did go through a traditional budgeting side, and it worked out to about almost $15 million. We did it for 10th of that. You know, like, and that's where people can't believe it. And it looked exactly the same as what I did, even if I had $15 million. The selling it, you and I probably need to talk in 12 months' time once we know the TVOD, SVOD, AVOD type plan that we've got works, or worked or didn't work, and how successful the film might have been from that. But that's probably that's another 12 months type thing. At the moment, everything's going to plan. If anything, it's more exceeding our plan, because we didn't realize it was going to be number one on all these platforms at all, or number 2 or number 10 or whatever, but it's in those top shelves. And that was something we never thought would happen. But mind you, we also have a very solid marketing plan behind this movie, which we only just turned on yesterday. So everything that we've got now has been a purely organic reach and a lot of fan base sharing. But now we're going to use our marketing budget that we put aside, and we're just cranking that up. So now we've seen how organic works, and now we've got to go and push further past that. So there's quite a strategy off the back of that too.
So I because of your experience in, you know, advertising and being a professional director, you've learned a lot of tips and tricks that you brought to Monsters of Man. And as a lot of indie filmmakers to kind of watch and are into this stuff, can you share any of the tips and tricks you learned that you use in this movie that made your life quite a bit easier?
Well, there are so many, right? I think the first one is make sure that your set, your whole set is run really friendly, like really family like, because once you got all the crew on side, all the cast on side, all the supporting people around you on side, and you're creating a good, fun environment, that makes a massive difference. Like people, they want to get to the end too because they can see it building, and you're making them part of the film. You know what I mean? So that's a big one. Is making sure there's a great morale on set. It's I can't talk highly enough about that. I can't talk enough about being respectful of everyone around, because I've been a lot of sets. A lot of people I know have done lots of movies, and I visit them, and there's screaming and yelling. There's a lot of panic, and or they might have hired a lot of inexperienced people to do things, or too many, and it becomes becomes a big lost sort of student film type thing. So as a filmmaker, you got to make sure, if you're a new filmmaker especially, make sure you got a very experienced director at the helm. And if you want to be the director, an inexperienced new director, and it's your movie and you wrote it, make sure you got a very experienced DOP that's done multiple movies, a very experienced first AD, and a very expensive production manager. Everyone else below those, you can use people that learn, because these guys here will teach them, teach them about film order. And if you don't have proper on-set etiquette or protocols on set, the whole thing will fall apart. Do you know what I mean? Because people are tripping over people. People are now getting upset with people. There is a little bit of demarcation on set that needs to be there. There's got to be a bit of militance there, because you're trying to run a lot of people, but try and do it in the nicest way possible. If you're in a country like Cambodia, or if you want to go to some strange little town, or whatever you go in the world, you got to make sure you leave a legacy of learning and training and teach the locals. You leave there with some really good, leave some knowledge there, so they can become great filmmakers. You know what I mean? So it's all about that, being a giver. And I think if you're going to be the head of a department, like I said, they might be experienced, that particular head of department, but just make sure they're a nice person too, because you don't want them screaming and abusing the neighbors too. So anyway, that's my big thing. And so long as you've got very good, well experienced people at the helms of certain roles, the rest should be good. And that's a lot of things. Like a really good DP that's done a lot of movies will know how to shoot movies swiftly, quickly, even with minimal gear, because they've been there, done that, right? It's hard, like, I know it's hard, but that's where your money should go. Try and hire those people, get those people, the rest, figure it out. Yeah, but it's hard, if you're going to just hire the first time movie DOP and the first time production manager and the first time producer, I mean, it's just going to be chaotic, whether you like it or not. And chaos will distract you as a director from the story. It'll distract you from the whole everything. Your world is now full of a whole bunch of distractions. And I went into this one with a really good team, and I had no distractions, so I could literally just focus on my cast. And even though I was the DOP of the movie, I didn't really operate the cameras that much. I made sure my operators were doing that. I just said I need a 35 there and a 70 there, and I would sort of frame it all up and go, this is what we're trying to capture. We'd block it. These guys knew exactly what I was after. Then I'd concentrate on my cast, because if you don't get great acting, that's another part. So sometimes the annoyance behind you will translate on screen. So you just got to make sure that you're completely focused on your movie and not the shit behind you.
Well, I was going to say,
good enough answer.
Oh, it's perfect. Well, you're just piggyback real quick. The actors in this were fantastic. I would say a few people stole the show. I'm bad at names. The gentleman who played Bowler was probably my favorite guy. He played a villain so perfectly. I loved him.
Yeah.
And is it David Haverty? David Haverty? I can't.
David, yeah, the guy with the beard, yes.
Stole the show.
Yeah, no, he was perfectly cast. Actually, he was the first person cast in the film. as well, because that role I wanted very specific. You know, he had to be the guy that lived under his mum's house, played computer games. But when David cast, he actually shot a whole scene out himself. You know, he set up a camera on a tripod because he's self-cast, and he shot the scene. And he edited the scene, off one of the sides that we gave him, part of the script, and he sent it to me, and I went, hired. Like, I didn't even look at anyone else. Or actually, I did just in case. But he was already, because he's a bit of a thespian, right? So he's well trained. He's been in theatre forever. He knew timing. He knew quirks and comedy. He knew, but his confidence. He doesn't realize how good he is, to be honest. He's always, like all actors, there's probably a bit of self-doubt, but David is, he's a top shelf actor and could slot into any film. But, his character is very much real too. Like, that's him as an individual. Like, he turned up and he wanted to have a good time in Cambodia, you know what I mean? But for me, he was a very easy actor to work with. He sort of, you put him there, he knows his character, off he goes. It's about, and he's so good as what he does. The others really need to, fit in around him as well.
I'm going to say you're the best, man. I know it's Christmas Eve. Go be with the family. Thank you for talking to me. Fantastic movie. It's out. People should see it. VOD, Apple, any way they can. So Mark, you're the best, man. Taking your time, dude. I really appreciate it.
Well, no, thank you very much, even for reaching out. And let's hook up again, because I want to share the back of this movie for a lot of filmmakers, because I really want this to be a giving. Sorry, I should turn that thing off. This should be a really giving movie for the film community, because I want to take this experiment on the chin and really share with a lot of filmmakers, some hurdles, wins and losses and all that, because that's how I made this movie. I made this movie off the back of a lot of my friends that have done really hard, or they've had really bad experiences making a movie. So I've made this learning about all their mistakes and go, well, I'll make sure I don't do that, and I'll do this, and so I just want this experiment to flood through the film community somehow over time, and I'm going to be very open about it. I've got no problems.
And you're a soldier of death.
So are you! You were made by humans to afflict death!
You were made by humans.
We're different! I'm a man, I have life! You're a fucking machine!